everybody. This is Vessy Mink, and you guessed it, we're back with the music train. AI-tainment, you're going to have to wait for it. Mid-May, we're coming back with 12 more episodes of AI-tainment, but today is the season premiere, season 5 of Music Train, with me, your host and co-founder with BK Han. Big up to Metaverse Generation and all of the sponsors that are always supporting us all around the world. Want to give a big shout out to LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, X, and of course, StreamYard for making this possible. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Please let me know where you're tuning in from. And tonight, you guys, we have an amazing show with David Groh from Nashville, Howling Music. You guys, this guy's amazing. We just met recently. The story is fabulous. His story is phenomenal. I don't want to wait any longer. So I'm just going to bring up David. David Groh, are you ready? Let's go.
Let's go.
What's going on, David? Good to see you.
Miss Mink.
That's
How
me.
are you?
I'm good. I'm glad to have you here. I was thinking,
I'm glad to be here.
Who would it be that could be the premiere for season 5 for Music Train? And it just so happens that our paths crossed quite. Is that a coincidence? How did that happen? What was that, fate?
Yeah, I think you reached out to our company, and then I listened to your music. And I'm like, I like this. So I reached back, and it's fate.
It's pretty, well, it wasn't exactly planned, that submission form that I found on Facebook. You know, I was like, who are these people? Howling Music, I like the name. They're in Nashville. What? They write custom songs and have a beautiful sync library that actually is kind of a upper echelon music. I mean, you have some music that's 1930s. Do you not? Can you give us a little bit of a background?
Yes, I can. No, I can't. No, I'm kidding. I will. I can. I just like saying stuff like that. So Howling Music we do original music for advertising. That's what we do. That's kind of our thing. And then we also have a music library, which is library music for advertising and film and TV. So one of our labels for the library side is a label called Retrorama. And so that features archival, so actual authentic period pieces and really authentic recreations of period pieces going back to about 1900. So the whole 20th century. And so we do both those things. And we also juggle, and we ride unicycles, and we like swallow swords and things.
I've had so much fun, getting to know you in the short time that I've known you. And I'd have to say that I just want to meet your whole crew. How many are there in your music group?
There's 1,000 of us.
Okay.
So we're good. We're big. No, there's not that many. There's probably less than 10, maybe. There'll be less after tonight. Probably they'll be like, I'm out.
Oh no, that's not good.
Okay, no, you know what? Let's lose a dead weight. But no, there's about 8 of us.
Okay, it's a good number. It's an infinity number. So when you were a kid, was music something always that came to your, were you beckoned early on musically?
Yeah, I think that, a lot of us are kind of like that. I'm sure that we just, I came from a real musical family, and I started playing the piano when I was really young. And I think just, I had friends that were like, hey, let's be in a band. So I was playing in a band when I was like 9 years old, and, that seemed normal.
Wow.
So by the time I was in high school, it was like, man, this is game on. I'm, and I was good. I knew I was pretty good. So, so then to answer your question, yes, it's always been a thing for sure. Yeah.
And I think that we had spoken just a little bit about this before, that you had actually attended university with the mind to be in marketing, correct?
Well, the thing was, it was kind of preordained that I was going to go to college. My parents were like, "You do that, you're going to have that," So, I'm sure it was weird for them that in my freshman year, I took a semester off to tour, and I was making, at the time I was making a lot of money. And I think my parents were like, okay, he's making money.
Right.
There was that. So that was kind of like, that helped to kind of make this a reality, but they really wanted me back in school. And I struggled a lot with, okay, well, I don't want to be a music major. What do I want to do in college? It felt kind of like, So I changed my major a couple of times and ended up with marketing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad I did that because that's very applicable to everything in life. It was helpful, but I just was kind of looking for a way out of there, to be honest.
Yeah, you had a quintessential moment with an advisor who kind of really told you the truth, which I think was pretty much laying out the future of your life, to this day, which is
Yes,
remarkable.
yes, that was. So what happened was, when you graduate from college, sometimes they'll like have these placement advisors whose job it is to kind of,
Mhm,
just get you oriented with the recruiting companies and stuff like that. Like, what do you, anyway. So here
mhm,
I go to the placement advisor meeting, and, I'm in my like suit and tie, like Donald Trump,
mhm.
um, except I'm not gonna even go there. But anyway, so I got in there, and she's kind of looking at my resume, going, "Oh, and I didn't have much of a resume because I had no experience.
Mhm,
But anyway, she was really cool, and she's like, "Okay, this looks great. What do you want to do?" And I'm like, "I'm, groomed for marketing." She's like, "No, no, no, no. But what do you want to do?"
mhm.
And it kind of felt like, "Oh, that's weird. That's different."
She
Um,
didn't trust your first answer.
no, no, she didn't.
I'm
And
glad.
so it kind of felt like, "Hey, off the record, what do you want to do?" So I was going, well, music, and she's like, "Oh, do you play or you sing?" Right. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm a songwriter, singer. Yeah." Like, "You play an instrument?" "Yeah, keys." And so she's like, "Oh, that's interesting. Are you any good?" I'm kind of going, okay, this interview be going down a dark path here? Maybe. I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I'm good. And then she's quiet for a second, and I could kind of feel like the sweat was breaking out a little bit, like, uh-oh. And she's like, "Do you love it?" Uh-oh.
Mhm. Right.
Uh-oh. We've gone down a really dark path, confirmed. I said,
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I love it." I mean, at that point, it's like, here I go. I'm
Yeah.
off the cliff here.
Wow, that's amazing. I want to write her a song.
You
I
know,
think she did her job. That's
well,
like her, right?
the thing that was weird about it was it felt like a really long, long pause when I
Mm,
just admitted that I loved it. And now I'm going, oh, and all of a sudden
right.
she stood up, like, interview over. So I stood up,
Wow,
and she's
wow.
like, "Look, I just think that's what you should do."
Wow.
So, like, I walked out of there going, my life just changed.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, no baggage for owing anybody anything really, ultimately just really what you wanted to do. And you'd gone through 4 years of really, focusing on a degree in a field that you're in. Can you tell me more about how Howling Music was born?
Yes, I can. But I'm not going to,
Okay,
so no, I will.
that's fine.
Um, h I mean, I think what happened was once I kind of made the decision, like, okay, I'm gonna pursue music, and that she kind of iced that a little bit for me.
Yeah,
I kind of felt like I walked out of there going, "Oh, I shouldn't have bought those suits. I'm not gonna
right.
need those." But then, I was unemployed, so I had to, do something.
Mhm.
So I took this corporate job that I lasted 90 days, maybe. But that was good because I kind of realized, like, okay, that's not it. So
Mhm.
now that kind of frees me up. So when I left there, like, my employers and manager, whatever, they're like, "Why are you leaving here?" And I said, "Well, I want to really pursue, a career. I want to."
Mhm.
And like, "Oh, and what's that?" And music. And they're like, "Ah, yeah, good luck with that."
Right, right.
So that kind of solidified, my like. But then I had to figure out what I was going to do. So I moved to LA, and I starved to death, and I was
Oh my
dead
god.
ass broke. Couldn't take my girlfriend out for Taco Bell. And it was hard. I'd been playing in a band for, like, that was a couple years later. So I started a band in Northern California, and it was good. We were good. And we were attracting labels
Yeah,
that were interested, like national big
nice.
labels that were, flying to our shows and stuff. And they'd be like, "Yeah, we
Wow.
like this, but maybe, well, let's keep here. Let's keep talking." Like, okay.
Right.
So I got to LA, and then it was kind of rough going, but I met some people that had done some work in advertising, in
Mhm.
music for advertising. So they were like, "Oh, maybe you can compose, you want to be a writer on this, or, try doing a demo." I'm like, "Yeah." And so that was my introduction to advertising. And it was really fun. It was like, different than what I was used to, for sure. This wasn't just songwriting. It's kind of like, here, there's parameters to this that are pretty specific.
Yeah.
And I kind of like the challenge of that. So anyway, but then I had a career. I got a record deal. I got a publishing deal. I toured the
Wow.
world. I became a million billionaire.
You did.
No, that didn't actually, that part didn't happen. But
I think soulfully, obviously, you're like super loaded soulfully. Like, guys, give it up for David Groh here with us from Howling Music in Nashville. Nashville. I've not yet been to Nashville, but I cannot wait to go and meet you in person and come and check out your studio. I love the vibe. I want to know if you are actually in the process of looking for musicians, composers for your music company. Oh, I can't hear you. I've lost you. Uh-oh. Audio off, guys. Oh, no. Oh, don't leave. Come back. Oh, there you are. Okay, there you are.
If you ask me really tough questions, I'm going to bounce. So that just, FYI. Can you hear me? Okay?
Yes, now I can. Yes. Was that a tough question?
No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, good. We're going to be good friends. I like how you joke around. I can handle that. So I have a question. What's the greatest spot that you have, like your most favorite brief that you've met? And if you guys don't know what a brief is, it's when some people in the advertising world tell you exactly what they need you to do. They color a scene and they really kind of, have you been in that kind of position before where, a director tells you literally, I need this kind of song?
Yeah. So Vessy, just so our 3 viewers, I don't know how many viewers we have.
We've got about 40. Shout out to the viewers. Shout out to the viewers.
Thank you. You're all invited over for dinner later.
Right on.
But the thing that is the piece of this is kind of weird is that I had a record deal and I did tour all over the country, not the world. And we were on the charts for 33 weeks and it was cool. We got a lot of radio and it was like 3.5 years of my life that were incredible and just so amazing. And when I found myself suddenly, the label I was signed to, they sold my deal to a bigger label, much bigger label. And that label, like, oh, we're going to make you, trunkfuls of money. And then they kind of did nothing. And then all of a sudden they wanted me to go make another record. And I did that. And the day I turned it in, they're like, oh, we're going to become a smooth jazz label. But we're going to exercise your option, which means you can't record those songs you just wrote for this album for 5 years. So it's kind of like, okay, I'm screwed as hell. This is bad.
What?
And I didn't really, I had worked. Yeah, it was not good. And I had worked for a couple other music houses, companies that did music for advertising over the years. So I had a much clearer picture of how that actually worked. So just to fill in the blank of that story. And so my plan was, I'm going to go get another record deal. And, but I was a little concerned, like, that could take a minute because I'm going to have to write a whole bunch of new songs. I can't even shop those songs that I just
must have been
finished.
Heartbreaking, man. And it took you 5 years to do that album. Is that correct? 5 years for the
No. I spent about maybe barely a year on it.
Okay, well, still that's still a lot of time. That's still your heart on the page, that's still like your.
But I think that what you might be referring to is that since they were exercising an option, this is kind of a technical thing.
Yes, for 5 years you couldn't do anything with them. Okay, yes, thanks for clarifying.
Yeah, so I was stuck. I had to wait it out if I wanted to re-record those songs,
right?
Or just write new songs and shop those. But anyway, so yeah, it was a little weird moment, and I just happened to be there was this artist that I was producing who was pretty successful, very successful, and I was at his management company, and one of my friends there, she worked there. We were just chatting, and I'm like, "What's new with you?" And she said, "Oh, I'm leaving." I'm like, "Oh, where are you going?" She's like, "I don't know." And then I said, "Oh, you want to start a music house?" Like I thought about it. I hadn't thought about it. And she's like, "Oh, I don't know too much about that. With you?" I'm like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Yeah, okay, sure, let's do that. Yeah, sure, let's go for it."
So you took this moment where the business, I'll just call it the business, said, "This is what happened to us. Now you're kind of here. Good luck," you know. And you were like, "I'm gonna go and start a music company in Nashville called
Yeah.
Howling Music." And
Yeah, we were in LA. We were in LA at the
okay.
time. Yeah. But yeah.
Oh, did you have a lot of support from your peers?
No, not really.
Well,
Not really. I mean, I think that my friends were kind of going, "Are you sure you want to do this, bro? Like you're going to be a tiny little like." I'm like, "Yeah, what if I started a music house?"
yeah.
And I had been at I had been actually senior composer for a big bi-coastal music house for a minute, and in between
Wait.
touring.
Oh my gosh. So everybody, are you hearing this? David's just kind of like, he's throwing these little juicy nuggets in here of just, can you repeat that one more time? Just, you were part of, can you say that again, please?
Yeah, I was one of the two main composers
Okay.
for a bi-coastal music house in LA. And the thing was that there was this legal dispute with the label and my label and BMG.
Uh-huh.
And so my attorney was like, "You're just gonna just lay low." But what was I gonna do? I couldn't go out on tour. I just can't sit at home watching Days of Our Lives. So I took a job at this music house, this company that was very, it was a cool, great company. And so they're like, yeah, they really liked me for some reason.
Well, you're
And it
likable,
was all,
David. You're likable.
well, I think because I had been a freelancer. It's a weird story. It's hard to follow. It sounds like I'm making this all up.
No, it's just,
But,
it's a lot of information. And I think the most exciting
yeah,
part is that you've been successful
yeah,
in your
yeah, kind of.
endeavor I mean, you're in the music capital of the world. Nashville is the music
Yes.
capital of the world. And I hear it's really small. In fact, I hear it's a lot smaller than I even realized. And we won't put a number on that, but I've just been hearing for the past 20 years, Nashville is small and it's just like literally tiny. How does it feel to be there? And how long have you been in Nashville?
My wife and I moved here in 2005.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So it still feels like I'm not integrating completely.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, it's actually really cool. There's a lot to love about Nashville, and there's so many like rich, cool. Like, I mean, when I was still living in LA, I would come and do sessions in Nashville,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd kind of be like, "Hey, I'm going to teach these bumpkins how the big dogs roll in the big city," and then they would just like hand my ass to me, and they were really nice about it.
Yeah.
They'd be like, "Here, David, here's your ass." So it was just like, all right,
Oh my
I
gosh,
have to
you're
get on my A
hilarious.
game to play with these guys.
Yeah.
But so yeah, but to answer your other question, I had been a I'd been a senior composer at this company, and that gave me some confidence. Like, okay, I think I can do this. And then on a whim, here I was. So I was at that company when my label said, "We want you to start working on your second record now.
Oh,
We're
okay.
through the legal issue. We're going to pay your advance. Get going on your second record." So I started doing that, made the record, turned it in. They're like, "Oh, we're going to be a smooth jazz label." And
Right.
now I'm unemployed, no record deal, helpless, hopeless, clueless. And then, here I am standing in the office of my client, I guess you could say, this
Mhm.
artist I produce.
Mhm.
And then I having this conversation with Kim, and so I'm saying these words like, "Should we start let's start this company?"
Mhm.
And so what happened was that she's like, "All right, well, let's meet for lunch and talk about it on Thursday." This was like a Monday or something.
Mhm.
I'm like, "Okay, yeah, let's do that." And then by the time Thursday rolled around, I'm like, "This is a terrible idea. I don't want to do this. I'm gonna this is awful." So, but I was like sheepish to like, I don't want to break the lunch thing. So we went there and she was eating her salad and I'm just going, "Kim, I really appreciate your enthusiasm so much, but this isn't going to work. I don't think I
Oh
can."
my
This
gosh.
is
Oh my
crazy.
gosh.
And she didn't say a word. She's just eating. And then finally I didn't know what she's going to say. And she's like, "Listen, hey, it's your money. I get it if you don't want to do it, whatever, but I'm willing to work for free. And I
Wow.
think we ought to just do this.
Nice.
And that was another one of those moments where it's like, I think my life just changed.
Because somebody
said,
met
"Okay,
you.
Kim."
Somebody met you at the crossroads and said, let's go. And they weren't waiting there to like.
No, that's exactly right. And I kind of stood up and said, okay. And that reminded me of those years back in college when I said, okay, I'm going to do that then. And it's funny how that's the way it kind of works somehow. Like, you know, we have an idea, like we're executing a plan. It's good to have a plan,
Totally.
but then somehow the universe, some weird thing happens. And it's like, if you can be there at the moment and go, okay, yes, I'll take that. I'll take what's behind door number 1. And so without having any real understanding of this, we started this company.
Amazing.
I knew how the business worked. I shouldn't say it like that. I knew how the business worked. But are we going to even have any clients or get any work? I don't have any idea. And it was like 5 months of nothing, just cracked and barren desert, Gobi Desert, nothing.
Wow.
And I thought, man, I have really misjudged this. And then we got a job. And
amazing.
Once we got one, it was kind of like, okay.
I mean,
I'm out of jail.
I've heard some of your music. Obviously, I've heard some of your spots on howlingmusic.com. You guys check out David Groh and his crew on howlingmusic.com. This is Music Train, season 5, episode 1 with Mr. Groh. And my name is Vessy. You know me. I'm here every Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern with a new amazing guest. David, you know, has quite a beautiful story. We're just getting into it. We've got another half an hour to go. If anybody would like to share in the comments any questions you might have for David, please put them in there. And thank you to all of our 64 listeners from all over the world. So 64 is a beautiful number. Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64? Name that band. David, just kidding.
I think it was Oasis. It has to be.
Yeah. You know what? They always thought they were the Beatles anyway. There must be some relation.
They did.
I liked Oasis.
So, yeah.
You know, I liked Oasis. I still do. People talk a lot of.
Yeah, they're amazing.
They really are. But they always give those brothers trouble, especially one over the other. They like to give that one trouble. Why is that?
You know, hey, musicians are not stable people. It's funny. My wife just reminded me of that. My wife will sometimes tell people, you know, her friends or whatever will say, well, what does your husband do? And she'll say, but she's from South Africa. She's got like an English accent. So she'll say musician, but sometimes they hear magician. And so this has happened a few times. Like, pick a card, any card.
That's adorable.
It's just funny. Like, oh, he's a magician.
That's so cute.
Oh. So, yeah.
I mean, we have a promo. You sent me a promo, which we aired on AI-tainment when we had Robert Scoble on last Sunday. And I really loved that promo. Pretty amazing. You did tell a few jokes in there. Your studio looks on fire. The studio's beautiful, you know?
Dude, you know, it's funny because my wife, she's really cool. It's fun to talk about her because she is just so funny and incredible. But, you know, I've got like things from my career and stuff. And she's like, yeah, that goes upstairs in your studio. We're not going to have that in the house, bro. No.
So she's the boss.
Yeah, no.
She's the boss of the aesthetic.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Well,
you have a pretty extraordinary story on how the two of you met too, which is pretty beautiful. So, I mean.
Yeah, I forgot I told you that.
Well, you didn't tell me everything. You just said that it was a chance encounter in the UK. I think that's all I know.
Okay, so this is actually a really strange story. This is 100% true. So I'm going to tell the story because it's a cool story.
I love it. All right.
Here's the story. So I had started Howling Music and it was going well. It was going well. So we went from 0 to suddenly we're working on spots for Nike and for BMW and for these big brands. It was just like 0 to boom. It felt like it was kind of it wasn't overnight, but once it started to click, it was really firing. So I had no explanation for that anyway, but we're busy. And so here I was in LA and a friend of mine who also happens to have an interest in my publishing, or did, he called me up one afternoon and said, listen, we need to go to the UK because the guy that handles your international, publishing administration wants to meet with you. We need to go. So let's go. I'm like, dude, I'm just busy. I can't, like, this is not a good time. And he's like, okay, I said, maybe give me a week or two. So a week later, he calls me back. Let's go. Can we do this? He's like, I'm like, I'm really busy with a bunch of stuff. Can you just, I'm really sorry, but give me a little more time. So another week or so goes by and he calls again. He's like, look, if you can't go, I'm just going to go. Mm-hmm. But, one of us needs to go if we don't both go. And I just said, dude, I'm so sorry. I can't, I'm just busy. We got all these jobs. And so he's like, all right, no worries, but I'll go. So I hung up the phone. And as I hung up the receiver like this, it's like I heard a voice. I mean, I didn't physically hear a voice, but the voice was, you'll meet your wife in London.
Come on. So it went click and a sound made you think something.
I don't understand what happened, but I didn't hear an audible, like there's someone in the room, right. But it was just like this sudden sense, you'll meet your wife in London. Like, holy shit. Like, okay, now what?
And then you changed your mind. You said, I'm going to go. You just changed your mind and said, I'm going to go.
I called my mom. Like, how crazy is this? And she was quiet. She's not crazy. She's like, maybe she's go. So I made the mistake of telling my friend Brad about this. Because then but it's like, if I'm going to be in London, like, let's make some appointments with some agencies. Let's meet with some agency people, blah, blah, blah. So, Brad and I met there and he's like, don't look. Don't look. She's behind you right now. Don't look. And everyone we met was like that. And so we'd be like an agency and it'd be like, hello, I'm David Groh. Nice to meet you. It was kind of that. And this went on for like a week. We were there for a week and we met with the guy and he was really great. It was cool. So, but after we were like going out every night and here it was like the night before that we had to go back. And I'm just like, this is stupid. Because he knew all about this and we were kind of like looking for the girl. So he liked to smoke cigars, like Cuban cigars. And back then in UK, you could, there was in the bar. So we were down there in the bar, just hanging out. And that was the night of the British Program Awards. I'll shorten this up. Don't worry. It's almost over.
I love these things. So, I love these stories. I could listen to this all day.
So we're sitting there and all of a sudden the doors open. So the British Program Awards, that's like their version of the Emmys. So all of a sudden, all these people like tuxedos and these gorgeous women in evening gowns. And then there's my future wife. She's this gorgeous blonde. I'm like, holy, like, oh my God. So, and I'm saying to Brad, like, oh my God, look at her. And he's like, go say something. What would I say? I mean, and I'm sure her brass-knuckled boyfriend or husband is lawyer. There's no way a woman like that, sorry if this sounds weird, but she wouldn't come to an event like this unescorted, kind of in a way.
Yeah.
Like you kind of think there's going to be someone, she's got a date. That girl's got a date for sure. So I'm just going, no way, man. I'm not, he's going to kill me or whatever. I don't want it. No, thanks. And so finally she's leaving. You can tell she's saying goodnight and saying goodnight to her friends and she's by herself. Wow. And Brad's going, there she goes. She's leaving by herself. Now, for God's sake, go say something. And I had enough brandy in me. Like, okay. So I went after her. And then, I couldn't find her. Like, it was really crowded in the bar. Like, so all of a sudden I thought, I can't find her. Forget it. I walked back into the bar.
You let go.
Zoom. She walks right by me. Yeah, exactly.
I love it.
She walks right by me. And she's on a mission to go get out of there. So all of a sudden, I like raced and caught up with her. And I'm like, excuse me, that's not a good way to open. That's not a good opener. Just because it was startling. She's like, ah.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. It was bad. And she's like, what? Yes. I'm like, oh, this isn't going on. So anyway, I said, you're not leaving yet, are you? That was my line.
Uh-huh.
But she kind of was like, I said, can I buy you a drink? And I'm just thinking, can she smell desperation? This must not seem good. But she was really cool. And, so I said that, and she's like, well, I just said goodnight to all my friends. be kind of weird. Like, oh, cool. I'll get you something and we'll go in here. And then she's finally like, out of hell with it. Let's just go back. So she
Nice.
marched right back in. She's like, look what I got. So it was just so cool of her. And I knew immediately that this girl, it was serious. Premonition, precog, no precog, whatever.
So beautiful.
And so we spent the next 5 days together. And then here was the thing. I had to catch a plane like in a few hours. So I'm saying to her, will you promise to have dinner with me tonight? Because we talked all night until like the sun was coming up.
Yeah.
And she's like, sure, yeah, okay. I'm like, no, will you promise? She said, yeah. I said, promise? Say I promise. She must have gone, this guy is nuts. So she's like, okay, fine, I promise. I'm like, okay, I'll see you at 7. I'll see you at 7. Okay, so yeah, and then
wow, David, you really
I canceled my flight.
Wow.
I had to because I was canceling my flight. I was like changing everything, and so we spent the next 5 days together, and that was it.
Your life sounds magical. You sound like you've had an extraordinary life. I bet you have like stories for days. Do you have any? I guess. I mean, didn't you win a big award recently, actually? And you are Grammy nominated as well, aren't you? I was going to ask you another question, and then those just popped into my head right now. That's phenomenal. You won not an Emmy. It's called
what? A Clio.
A Clio.
Yeah,
Congratulations on that. For those that don't know what a Clio is, could you just give us a little bit of what that is?
Yeah, a Clio is an advertising specific award, and we won it for best music in an advertising.
Yes.
Spot, so,
what was the spot? What was the spot?
It was for Buchanan's whiskey.
Okay.
So it was cool. It was good. I wasn't really the composer on it. I was kind of creative directing.
Cool.
But
okay.
I'll take that.
So creative directing, what does that look? What does a creative director do?
A creative director, it's kind of like a music director. I'm like a producer.
Right.
You know, we're kind of sort of just guiding the creative ideation and sort of throughout the process, really. Just what are we doing musically? And so it's a complicated answer, but the short answer is it's like we're the director of a film. The creative director kind of has oversight across the whole process of music for a spot.
That's amazing. For a short time, I was a receptionist at the White House Post, it's called now, but it was called the Looking Glass Company, where my friend was an editor. She was an assistant editor. And I loved that job. I love the feeling of being in an advertising space like that. And just, the Avid machines, the editing, just, people from Ford or wherever coming in and talking about what kind of great commercial they were going to make for the Super Bowl, what kind of music they were going to cut to it. And they would let me bring my guitar. So I have a little bit of experience with being around those kind of people, which I like very much, advertising people. A lot of people give, advertisers a bad name by saying that they only do things for the buck. But I think that that's changing. I think that people are becoming more aware that that job, first of all, is not easy to be in advertising. That's a difficult job because sometimes what would you say are the biggest challenges?
Well, that is a great question. I mean, I think the biggest challenges that face creatives working in advertising, that includes music, but even just creative directors and copywriters and art directors at agencies or wherever in-house, is that you're sort of aware that you have dual opportunities. One opportunity is to really help the brand become, attract attention and, communicate a message. So, a brand message. And that's one aspect of it. And another aspect of it is, I want to have something that's going to look great on my reel. And those sometimes can be a little bit competing. Sometimes the things that we know, like, this is going to look great. This is so cool and funny and, killer, great creative writing and really whatever. Like sometimes that doesn't really advance the interests of the brand necessarily.
Why is that?
Just to that point.
Right.
There was an instance years ago when I was just a little ant trying to just become a beetle. And So there was a famous case though for a spot for Nissan, and this featured Barbie and Ken. So like the actual dolls, there was like stop action animation, and it was really funny. It's like Ken pulls up, and he's not. Everyone knows Ken drives a Camaro. I guess I don't know that, but I think that's it. But this is a Nissan. He pulls up, and then he's like, "Hey, Barbie," and she's like,
right.
I mean, I don't know if that's true, but in the spot, there are just dolls. And he's like, "Hey, you want to ride?" And she's like, "With you? Yeah, driving that car? Yeah." And then she jumps in, and then they zoom off the little plastic car.
Right.
Zooms off, and you can see the logo Nissan.
Hey.
And that was a spot. And it's like, I forget what the tag was.
Yeah.
But this was like really just, hailed in the press, and in the advertising media, like, "Oh, this is brilliant. This is just incredible creative." And it was really incredible.
Yeah.
And it didn't sell any Nissan cars.
Interesting.
And people lost their jobs.
Oh, man.
And their numbers went down. And those people probably won Clio awards and, all kinds of awards for that.
Right. I hear what you're saying.
It didn't help the brand.
So I hear what you're saying, David. So, for myself, I've had a couple songs licensed, in sync for the Gilmore Girls. I had a Bud Light spot. I was in a couple feature films. My question is, it's a difficult business to break into as a musician. There are so many. I mean, ultimately, it's how I met you. I took 6-figure songwriting with Sonnet Simmons and John Kleinbell, and then did their Get Repped, which was a few weeks ago. The thing about it is that there are thousands of people that have taken those courses, that keep taking courses, that keep trying to get in with the people that are going to teach them or really ultimately help them make the connection to meet the people. But since the business is so small, I just know that musicians must be frustrated all around the world for not being able to crack the code ultimately. But I mean, you employ people like all over the world. Seriously, like you're working with musicians all over the world. So your global infrastructure that's working is based obviously on really great relationships. It just seems to be very personable. I think also in our first conversation, you had said something to the degree of, you have to put yourself out there and know how to make a connection and talk to somebody. So how can people in an industry that's kind of more reserved and not wanting that kind of people breaking down the door, give me a spot, give me a chance, sync this song, how can they move to get to the next level? I mean, from my perspective, I just keep making music, and I'm not really attached to the outcome of the music that I'm making. But if I were to be part of a sync company or a music house, I certainly would focus on meeting the brief, because I've been in the business myself now for a while. But for new people, I guess I just don't want anybody to waste any time thinking that it's of utmost importance to, do everything that, these sync companies are, these classes are saying, do this, and you're going to get it. Cause, people put a lot of money out to try and get to where they think they want to be. So I always think making the best music you can make and focusing obviously on that. And we talked about it as well, not doing too many things, but at this day and age, you have to kind of do a little bit of everything ultimately. So I think that, lines can get crossed, but can you give the young budding music, music lover who wants to be in the marketing, film and TV advertising agency market, like what do they do? What's their first step?
You know what? This sounds kind of evasive. My answer will sound like I'm trying to dodge the question. The reason why it's such a difficult question to answer is because there's not like one single thing. I think that, obviously this is an incredibly competitive marketplace. And you're right. Like there's like millions of people want in to do this. And, in the whole sync world, like advertising is kind of considered like, in a sense, it's a little bit of top of the food chain because those creative fees, those sync fees tend to be much higher in advertising. And plus, it's very visible. So people are aware, like, you have a spot on a Bud Light commercial, everyone, like lots of people are going to see that and they're going to go, oh my God, okay, that's, and that can be game changing. And I think that, you have you've got a little sync on a TV show or something. There's a lot of shows out there. It doesn't have quite the same impact. It can, long term, it can have a very equivalent or better financial impact to be on the, the TV side. But for, advertising does have that appeal. And that's one of the reasons why there's so many people competing for that, for those opportunities.
Yeah.
So one thing that I would definitely say is that you have to be really, really good. And, you and I were talking a little bit about this. Like, everyone thinks they're great.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks they're great. And, I thought I was great. And, this is a true story. I was hired by this, here I was working in LA. I mean, living in LA, broke and lonely and sad and trying to get a record deal. And just, it was tough. And this music house hired me, and they said, look, we think you've got the right personality to do repping for us, like sales. And I'm like, I don't think so. No, I don't. Thank you, but no thanks. Right. And then I went home and realized, like, I can't pay my bills. They're going to shut my power.
Yeah, I think I'll take it. I think I'll take that offer.
So,
yeah.
But I went back, exactly. I went back in there and I kind of told the guy, like, look, I really don't think this is going to work. I just want to disclaim this. And he's like, well, we appreciate that. Just give it a shot. So that actually really helped me in a way, because I felt like, okay, they're going to probably escort me out of here in a month or two. He's a dismal failure, but at least I warned them. And then just what I was doing actually was, and they were like, here, call these people and get jobs. That was my training. I mean, sorry, Howard and Brad, if you're listening.
Okay.
But that was the training.
Call these people and get jobs. Okay.
So I didn't know how to do that. I didn't think I could do that. But what was going on is that my girlfriend finally left me, and I was really sad. And so I was leaving messages like, hey, there's only so much rejection I can take, and maybe you could just call me just so I know my phone still works. And I was leaving messages like that were kind of tongue in cheek. I was just kidding around.
They ate it up, didn't they? They ate it up.
They called me back. They called me back, these total strangers, and they'd be like, was that a ploy? Or, and so I found myself, they'd ask me, like, what happened? And then they'd want to know, like, oh, no, it wasn't a ploy. And then we talked for 45 minutes about my, poor broken heart. And I would never talk about, like, the work. I would never be like, oh, you got to hire us.
Can I do a timeout? Sorry to say it that way. I just wanted to.
Yes.
My Poor Broken Heart. My Poor Broken Heart is a really great name for the book that you're going to write or you have been writing. What do you think about that name for a title? My Poor Broken Heart, because from that vantage point of just people want to actually, it just comes from a place of people wanting to connect and find what's similar in there. And everybody knows about heartbreak, and your story was true.
Well, I'll tell you, it was weird because what I discovered by accident was that I didn't actually have to sell. I didn't actually have to do that. That's what I learned. I could just be a real person and listen to them and talk to them. And I wasn't like going, rah, rah, rah.
Right.
I wasn't doing any of that shit.
Yeah. Nobody wants that also, just like an insurance salesperson or something. It's horrible to be barked after and it's even more horrible to feel like somebody's taken all these little steps to make you think that they're not selling. Like, it's best to just tell people the truth, what's going on. And this just brings me to, I want to just talk about Tesla for a minute. I don't know if you drive an EV car or a Tesla or whatever, but I had an opportunity recently to put to music the lyrics of a song called Do Tesla's Dream. And I'd like to run it right now so that you can hear it. And also just to mark that this song is our sponsor of the week. And this is what we do on Music Train. We're organic. We create basically relationships like this one that happen in real time, and then have a show with an amazing person like David Groh. I know that you guys are enjoying the show. There are 87 people watching. Thank you so much to all of the viewers, wherever you're watching from. We really appreciate you. And if you could put in the comments, wherever you're tuning in from, at Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, just let us know how you're enjoying the show. And if you have any questions, or if you'd like to give David, a big up, you can also find David Groh and his crew at howlingmusic.com. I'm just going to run this because Tesla doesn't advertise. Tesla doesn't advertise, and they just do what they do. And this song came to be because somebody has an FSD car that needed to learn about what its surroundings were. So it's a full self-driving vehicle that it's a large language model that needed to learn what was around it. It got a lot of things wrong, and Mr. Scott Walter, he basically compared the Tesla to a person. So I want to know what you think about this. Let's run it.
Do Teslas dream of things unseen? Does your 3 insist that Y exists when it's stable weight? Is your storage crate in the garbage bin and X again? Or the heating duct a cyber truck? Does a weary auto label see autos in its stable? One more mirage in your one-car garage. Its invisible friend, is it just pretend? Hey, green the only, are our Teslas lonely? We need to find what's in their mind. Dr. Know-It-All, please make the call. Is the FSD chip looking for companionship? We may never know, say for Dojo. We'll soon take a backseat in our robo taxis. So will this silicone stranger, for us all in danger, runs about on another route looking for its soulmate. Just past the next building, its attention diverted, the thoughts more perverted. Will it stick to its scheme as it starts a daydream? Should we take a strong stance against this pending romance? Dread not disillusion, for it's human delusion. One more deception from human projection. This general net is clearly not wet, nor even sentient, despite human sentiment. We tend give intent to things we invent. It's pure paranoia, born of pareidolia. Our gift of abstraction is behind this distraction. When we comprehend our souls, we will lend to objects inert, nor even alert. Don't ascribe intelligence to mechanical elegance. You can't have a thought, it's only a bot. We'll reef the knot of an AI onslaught. Fear not what you're taught, or is there a but? Because Tesla's dream is only it's only a meme.
There you have it. Do Tesla's Dream. Lyrics by Dr. Scott. Yeah. All right. All right. So if you had a sync show and people were optioning you songs, much like this, let's say there were 10 musicians, I don't know, and they were optioning songs. Would this get on the marketing floor if Tesla was advertising?
No. No, I'm just kidding. I just wanted to say that.
No, it's okay. I love when people say no. It's like my favorite thing because it just tells me that
no.
It tells me that rejection is a good thing because you then find out why you're actually doing something, and if it's real and it's
so.
You know,
but in all honesty, like I genuinely really like that.
Sweet.
I genuinely really like that. So it's really cool.
Awesome. I will tell Scott.
Vessy, one of the things that I was thinking, like, maybe it would be good, since people probably, like, here's the thing. I've been doing this for a long time, and there's not a lot of things that I'm actually expert in. I'm like, I can ride a unicycle. I'm not
Wait,
an expert at that though.
can you really ride a unicycle though? For real?
Yeah, I can, but I'm not. I mean, that's different. But I am actually pretty close to being an expert at this. I'm pretty close, especially in the advertising space.
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing this a long time. I've scored a lot of spots. It's hard to believe it's been as many as I have. It sounds like I'm just making it up.
No, not at all.
But
No. How many would you say that you've scored?
I have personally scored over 500 spots.
Wow. That's
Mhm.
amazing. Any favorites in there? Any
So
favorites?
yes, I think so. I think so.
Yeah.
There's a spot that we did, and my former boss
Mhm.
at Pfeiffer Music Partners in LA, Howard Pfeiffer,
Mhm.
he was so gracious in being willing to be a composer for my company.
Amazing. That's
So that was
amazing.
like really, he's a huge person in every, not physically, he's but
He
what I
sounds
mean
like
is just
a
he's
great
got
guy.
this
Yeah.
incredible character, and he's a ridiculous talent. And so that was one we worked on together. It was mostly Howard, honestly, but I had a creative role in it, and that was
Beautiful.
a spot for Minnie Cooper, and was
Okay.
really, it was shoot spot of the year, and
Wow.
the spot is called Clown.
Oh,
So
I love it.
it's on our reel on our website, so you can see that if you're interested. But that was hard to do, and yeah. So
When
sometimes like something like that takes a special thing. So that was cool.
when you say hard to do, you mean it was hard to do in what way?
Just executing it.
Yeah.
This and yeah, you'd have to kind of see the spot to know what I'm talking about. But this is like music from like silent movie era,
Oh, okay.
upright piano, like stride piano, like ragtime-ish.
Wow.
But this starts off kind of, the mood was kind of fun, and it gradually, because the narrative of the spot, the clown gets in the car and then he's joking around and being an asshole, and then the driver starts to get like kind of irritated, and then he's driving really fast on the roads. The clown starts to freak out, and the music has to be a narrative element, so it's
Yeah.
really like keeping pace with what's going on. So Howard just, I mean, he deserves all the credit, really.
And I
And
love how
it was
he gave you your start. I mean, he gave you your start, so that's just
yes, he did.
the
He
most
did.
beautiful story. Big up to Howard, and I just
Big
love
up,
that.
big up.
What? So, are there any plans to have any kind of show, like any kind of sync show? Would you ever consider such a thing?
Oh, totally. I mean, I would.
Yeah.
People have asked me about that, but I mean, I get asked all the time, like, what advice would you give?
Right.
So let me see if I can try to answer that for a second.
Okay.
So here's a couple things. Number one, you got to sort of know yourself musically.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that what we run into all the time is composers will say, "Oh, I'm great at everything." Like, yeah, usually you're not. I'm not great at everything.
Mm-hmm.
I've had to learn to be, relatively diverse, but we have guys that can do stuff that I can't do, and that are way better than me, and that's as it should be.
Mm-hmm.
So, kind of knowing, I mean, there's room at the table for all kinds of different styles of music.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't really matter. Honestly, it's like, you can be like, "Oh, I do polkas. I'm great. I'm polka. I'm your man. Accordion polka. Great." Like there's room for that. Believe it or not. I'm using that as an example.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that we get people all the time that just feel like they have to be all things to all people. And that's a big mistake.
Mm-hmm.
So knowing what your strengths are, what your limitations are, that's really an important part of it. Making friends with people in that, like being a good networker.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we have guys that will, maybe they'll put it on a little too strong. Like they email us all the time and stuff like that. And it starts to feel like,
yeah.
But yet it's important to, build a rapport and get to know people. And I mean, for me, if I like something, I'll reach out to someone. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I want to advocate for compose. Like if you're someone that wants to have a career making music, like that's the percentage of musicians that actually can have a sustainable career making a living making music, it's like a tiny fraction. So I was that guy, and I've been so lucky and blessed and fortunate that I've been able to kind of figure out a path that works. But yeah, I mean,
You've taken
I
all.
love artists, and I'm
Yeah. Yeah, you really are artist centric. I like that about you. You do wear many hats, You do. From the short time I've known you, just even just how you express yourself. And I think there's no greater feeling than writing a great piece, whatever it is, in whatever genre, for whatever reason, to actually be able to,
you know.
to get that feeling out
So Vessi,
onto the.
here's the joke about that though.
Mm-hmm.
When I was staff composer at, I'll say it, Tom and Andy,
Mm-hmm.
they're good. I love those guys.
Mm-hmm.
So I was one of the main composers, myself and Tim Bull, and we had two studios facing each other, and we were oftentimes working on the same stuff in house. So we're the same forward spot or whatever it was. We're competitively demoing in house. So one of us is probably going to win this. And the thing was, if either of us ever did something that was really good, it would just like, oh man, what a shame, bro. It's just, it's so good, man. It'll never be chosen. It'll never see light of day.
Why is that? It's too good.
Like the really good stuff.
Yeah. I think that we also talked about just one mic, one vocal, close up. Like what's hot right now? What do agencies want? They want, the Billie Eilish, vocal, right? They want
I mean, I could answer that question, but it's tempting to not answer it because I feel like, that I just want to encourage the people that are kind of focused on what they do great. Yeah. And there's room for them. There's room. Like we're seeing an awful lot of like Dua Lipa kind of baseline 70s disco-ish kind of thing. We're seeing that. There's a lot. I mean, obviously there's a lot of like urban kind of urban adjacent, we call it. It's like, they don't want, like total like hood in the, kind of hip hop, but definitely urban leaning. Maybe it's not exactly hip hop, but
yeah, an amalgamation. I think that
Scott.
Totally. Country hip hop.
Yeah.
So I can't believe it's already been an hour. I could speak to you for many more hours. I hope that you come back on the show, David. And you've been amazing. Now we have 105 guests watching. So I think the longer we talk, we could hit 1K. I know you probably have to go here soon, so I won't keep you. But I just want to say thank you for being here for season 5, episode 1. Like who's going to be next?
Happy to be here.
Thank you. We have Angel Keys, who is a Singaporean concert pianist. Next week, she's going to do a concert for us, guys, and we're going to find out a little bit more about Angel Keys. And I just want to thank everybody again for tuning in. And any last thoughts, AJ? Any questions you want answered? And what did you want to be when you were a child? I want
to. Is that so, Vessi? You've just gone dark on me. I don't know if I've gone dark. You're back. Okay, cool. Was that a question?
Are we getting? Yeah. Did you hear? I don't know if you heard my question.
What was the question?
My question was, what did you want to be when you were a kid? Like your first, like, I want to do this. Like, was it music? Was that the first thing?
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Rock star.
That's so beautiful.
Rock
star, and you are. And right on. You guys reach out to howlingmusic.com and just reach out and check out what they've got going on. If you're an artist out there, I know many of you musicians out there, start focusing on what it is you do best. It seems to be the takeaway for today. And I also wanted to give a special shout out to my Amazing partner, Mr. BK Han out of Singapore, and Metaverse Generation, and all of our sponsors. You know who you are. And also a special shout out to my grandmother. Today's her birthday. She would have been 103. And I happen to have a little cassette here recording from 1977 of my father and my grandmother singing this song in Bulgarian. Now the audio, please excuse the audio because it is 1977 and I did not have a chance to drop it into Audio Shake to separate all the stems and mix it up. But guess what? AI is in everything. We didn't talk about AI, David. We need to talk about that. Maybe you'll come back and talk to us about what you think about AI. No, he's not doing it, guys. Forget about AI. No, we'll be back. All right, you guys, see you next week. This is my grandmother and my father singing a little song in 1977. I believe it's a Bulgarian song. See you next week, you guys. Thank you so much for your support. I'm Vessy Mink. This is David Groh. Rock on. Take good care of yourselves. And don't forget to always be kind.
There's nobody else but my mother. I can't sing with nobody else.